This is a short video to help you understand and identify slurs and ties. Now, they look the same, and for this very reason, so many music students get these two symbols muddled up, despite them meaning two very different things. Let's start with the slur. This is slightly easier to explain. The slur is used by composers to indicate that a passage of music should be played smoothly, or legato being a more appropriate musical word. Here's a short snippet of music. If we add a slur beneath the quavers, or eighth notes, it now means that the quavers are played smoothly. I've highlighted the notes to be played smoothly. Now, if you play a wind instrument, this is a simple case of tonguing the first note, but not tonguing each of the following quavers, allowing the sound to flow uninterrupted from one note to the next. A string player may play the notes in a single bow stroke to achieve the same legato effect. If the slur was extended to the F, all of the notes highlighted would be played legato. So, the simple purpose of a slur is to indicate to a musician to play the notes under the slur smoothly or legato. The tie is used to extend notes which are of the same pitch, either in the middle of a bar or across bar lines. The tie works in the same way as a plus or addition symbol in mathematics. So, if I were to write this, it means 2 plus 1, which equals 3 beats. Now you might say, and quite understandably you might ask this question, why use a tie when you can show 3 beats by using this, a dotted minim? Well, yes, you could use a dotted minim, but what would we do if we wanted to play a note for 3 beats when there's a time signature of 2/4? As each bar must have no more than 2 beats per bar, this is where we use a tie. The tie tells the musician to add together the value of the two notes and play them for that amount of beats. So in this example, the note E is played for 3 beats. I'll show you how ties can be used in the middle of a bar in a moment, but before I do, just a few things to bear in mind when using ties. 1. Ties are only used for notes of the same pitch. If we look at our previous example of a tie, but change the second note to an F, it's no longer a tie, it's a slur. An instruction to tell the musician to play the transition from the E to the F legato, or smoothly. Secondly, ties can extend accidentals across the bar line. By accidental, I mean sharps, flats, or naturals. The tie holds the accidental to the tied note. So the first note in this example is E flat, and so is this one. There's no need to write the flat symbol again. Now, what note would this be? It's an E, not an E flat, as this flat is in the previous bar. Now, it's quite common for music to put an accidental in brackets to ensure that it is clear what note to play. When you see accidentals in brackets, they're often referred to as courtesy accidentals. Ties always start and end on the note head, never on the stems. So in this example, the tie starts and ends on the stems. This is not allowed. In this example, it may appear that the tie is starting and ending on the note heads, but look carefully at the left-hand side of the tie. It's actually pointing at the stem. Whereas this example, which is correct, the tie starts and ends on the notes heads themselves. I mentioned earlier that ties can also be used in the middle of a bar, rather than just across bar lines. Now, the reason for this is to ensure that we stick to the strict rules of beaming. For example, in 9/8, there are 3 beats of dotted crotchets, or dotted quarter notes as they are known. Now, you're probably aware that the quavers in 9/8 are beamed together in groups of 3, like this example. Now, there are lots and lots of complex rules regarding beaming, and I won't go into them in this video, but let's assume we wanted to play this melody. You can see that the first note is a minim, or half note, which is the equivalent of 4 quavers. But by writing this type of note, it breaks one of the complex beaming rules applicable to 9/8. Therefore, strictly speaking, I'm not actually allowed to write the music like this. Instead, we write a dotted crotchet, tied to a quaver. The tie adds the values together, which equal the equivalent of 4 quavers. Now, as I say, there are lots of rules regarding beaming, and I'll cover this in another video, but for the moment, just be aware that ties can be used in the middle of the bar, not just over the bar line. Ties and slurs can be used together in the same bar. Here is the 9/8 bar we looked at just a moment ago with the tied note G, but let's assume I also wanted this music to be played legato. All I do, I merely add a slur under the phrase. So, before we go, remember, slur means to play legato or smoothly, whereas ties add the values of notes together. I do hope that this video has helped clarify the difference between the slur and the tie. Thanks for watching.